Landlord wants the house for his mistress. His wife wasn't amused. I had lived in this house for 5 years when my landlord sent me an eviction for personal use. In my country, if you are kicked out for that reason at short notice, the landlord is obliged to pay the moving costs. Since I was not in debt, I was entitled to financial compensation as I was due to move out within 4 weeks. I let my landlord know about this, but he didn't reply to my emails and texts. So the deadline passed, and I had neither looked for an apartment nor prepared my move. The day after the deadline, a woman with a moving team was at the door and wanted to move in. So I called the landlord's wife and asked her what we were going to do now, since I couldn't reach her husband. She didn't understand what I was talking about, and I briefly described the situation to her. She thanks me for calling her. She eventually called the police and had the woman removed. Meanwhile, my landlord called me several times, but I didn't answer his calls because his wife had told me so. It turned out that the lady who was supposed to move in was his lover, whom he secretly wanted to let into the house. She was a student and could no longer afford the dormitory. He wanted to let her live there for free for sleeping with him. The apartment belonged to his wife, who knew nothing about it. She, of course, wasn't amused to learn that he'd done this to other girls in other houses she owned before. None of the buildings belonged to him. And the 2 that belonged to him were not rentable space. So, he had no right to throw me out of the apartment. His wife got me a new lease that was cheaper. His lover and wife eventually sued him, and he lost a lot of money and the real estate he owned.